Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, June 27th, 2020. So you'll notice next to me I'm holding an old picture frame that needs some work. Well, I was refinishing it for my wife this morning, and something really philosophically important jumped out to me. And that's the idea of finding your groove. Now, you may remember from earlier videos that I'm a professional drummer, or at least was for an awful long time. And there is nothing harder to teach to new drummers than to be able to find a groove. They can be technically proficient, but unless they get kind of deep in their soul, in their gut, the feeling of what it's like to be in the pocket, to be locked in on the rhythm that then makes possible the rest of the jam, unless they can get that, they'll never be a good drummer, no matter how technically proficient they become. The same is true, in fact, with this old picture frame. You'll notice there's some remnants of letters. My wife had some vinyl lettering on this that she recently peeled off, and it took the paint off with it. And what is left are these grooves where the paint has gone all the way down to the bare wood. So in order to refinish the frame, I have to sand this out. I have to spackle in between the lettering, sand it all down, repaint it in order to try to cover over the grooves that are right now in this picture frame. But I think this is an important question. What are the grooves into which our life plays? Do we find our groove in the sense of locking into the pocket and moving with rhythmic intentionality forward? Or do we find ourselves doing our very best to spackle over that groove in order to give the impression that we have everything perfect, everything is tied up in a nice little bow? This actually reminds me of a philosophical idea of authenticity. This is an idea developed by several existentialist thinkers, and although there are some problems with it, because the idea that somehow we could be authentic to ourselves seems to forget that who we are is already shaped by the experiences that have shaped us. So in other words, it's not like there is some true self to whom we are authentic, but instead the existentialists suggest that authenticity is a task. It's the idea that we are in fact allowing ourselves to be actively engaged in finding the groove that will shape the movement of our lives. Now, I think this is an important concept because so many of us right now feel like we've got to perform our identity in order for others to accept us in particular ways. But maybe if we try to be authentic in the sense, not of getting back to some self underneath things, but in the sense simply of finding a groove into which we want to live. A dance, as it were, that we want to characterize how we move in the world. It reminds me of that old Monty Python sketch of the Ministry of Funny Walks, where all these different people would walk ridiculously down the street. And it seems to me that maybe finding our own walk, our own stride, metaphorically, is an important way of then being authentic in the world. What is your groove? What are the marks that make you who you are? Don't try to just cover them over, but allow them to show through in order to give some texture to the picture frame that will be the narrative of your life. Find your groove today, walk into it, even if it's a funny walk. In that way, let's be authentic, not because we're trying to get back to something, but because we're trying to live into something. I hope this is helpful. I'll see you tomorrow, unless a piano falls on our heads.